Your Excellencies, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Ambassador Maged Abdelaziz, Under-Secretary General, Special Advisor on Africa, United Nations, Amir Dossal, Chairman of the Global Partnerships Forum, all honorable ministers present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my distinct pleasure to offer you this warm welcome on behalf of Africa Investor to our 2014 African Head of State Investment Advisory Council Dialogue. As many of you know, the Council was launched here at the New York Stock Exchange some years ago in partnership with the African Union, UN-OSA, and the Global Partnerships Forum as a platform to engage heads of state on the African investment agenda during the UN General Assembly. Your Excellency, today we have engaged the institutional investment community with presentations from leaders from African-listed companies, stock exchanges, and our pension and sovereign wealth funds who have ably set the scene. This session, Your Excellency, is really designed to highlight to our international investment partners that our African political leadership at the highest levels seeks and welcomes their partnership and their investment. A key issue that the Council has taken up is to boost intra-African investment, which remains extremely low at a mere 5% compared to other parts of the world which are currently in excess of 60%. However, we believe that by working in partnership with the African investment community, along with heads of state as champions, we can significantly advance the mobilization of African domestic pension and sovereign wealth fund capital to achieve a compound growth per annum of intra-African investment in the region of 25 to 30% over the next 10 years. We have prioritized the development of more co-investment partnerships as the most effective method to increasing intra-African investment flows by employing domestic African capital from African pension and sovereign wealth funds, and we think that's the best way to advance this. Our focus, therefore, is primarily on infrastructure investment projects that will create jobs and stimulate capital market growth and transactions. Africa is set to have the highest growth of sovereign wealth funds and the largest number of sovereign wealth funds in the world over the next 36 months. We also know that Africa's 6 largest pension funds in terms of assets are projected to exceed $7 trillion by 2050, which, coupled with the several trillion available in the US institutional investment market over that same period of time, could be a difference maker for growth and job creation in Africa, as well as the United States of America. We are therefore delighted to announce here today that we are launching a report to provide some advocacy and insight on this subject. You should have a copy of this report in your folders. The report was launched in partnership with the ACP Business Climate. The report is entitled The African Sovereign Wealth and Pension Fund Summit Report on how to mobilize domestic African capital as a tool to leverage global institutional capital. The report was inspired by the outcomes of the Heads of State Dialogue held here last year and the EU-Africa Summit recommendations, which gave rise to a number of follow-up actions. We held a consultation in May in Abuja, Nigeria, on the same subject, entitled the Africa Investor, African Pension and Sovereign Wealth Fund Forum. The report highlights priority recommendations on how pension and sovereign wealth funds can better participate as lead infrastructure investors on African projects, particularly through modernizing regulatory environments and instituting solid Pan-African co-investment programs. We at African Investor continue to encourage our domestic and institutional investment partners to participate in investments across the continent, a number of projects, by developing new tools and new platforms to de-risk their participation. For our part, this year, Africa Investor launched the continent's first Pan-African Investable Infrastructure Investment Index of listed African companies operating in the infrastructure and contributing towards that growth. In addition to this, Africa Investor is happy to announce the AI Sovereign Infrastructure Investment Platform for African pension and sovereign wealth funds. The platform will have a unique co-investment program designed to extend and increase the level of co-investment between both African pension and sovereign wealth funds and also amongst their international peers. Your Excellency, in closing, please we applaud the fact that you could get through the New York traffic today and be here with us. And we look forward to your leadership and hearing your insights and your commitments towards engaging the institutional investment community. We stand ready as your investment partner to increase intra-African investment and global institutional investment into the continent. So on that note, I'd like to now call on our friend and partner, Ambassador Abdelaziz, Under-Secretary General, Office of the Special Advisor on Africa, to give some opening remarks. I thank you.
Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.